Hi, I'm Renee Pageau, and I made these little dresses, this one and this one, out of men's shirts. I posted it on Facebook called Scrappy Girl Club, and I had an overwhelming response on how did you do it and where's the pattern. Well, I'll just try to show you how I did it, and hopefully you will learn enough that you can do it too. First of all, I started with this pattern. It's just an old pattern I picked up at the Salvation Army for $1. I took just the top pieces, the bodice part of the pattern, and I made my own. Just adjusted it just a little bit, but it works. So the first thing you do is you need 2 men's shirts. And the larger the shirt is, the better you're off, because you have more fabric to deal with. So what I do is I lay it out and I pin it here and line up the bottom of the shirt with the scallop bottom. And this scallop bottom of the shirt is going to be the hemline of your dress. So don't even bother with that, altering that at all. So what I first do is I cut the dress roughly about 15 inches up from the bottom, 13 to 15 inches, depending on how long the shirt is. Some shirts are shorter than others because of the size. But what I do try to be careful is to get it an inch or 3/4 of an inch above this button. Because when you're gathering this portion, you don't want to complicate yourself with this button. So that's what I first do. So there you have it. That's the bottom of the dress before it's all gathered up. Then the next part I cut is I cut the sleeves. Now, the part of the sleeve is not all that important. So an old shirt, sometimes you have old shirts with staining under the arm. You're not going to use that part. So you're going to cut that away. So now you cut the cuff off the shirt. And throw that away. And you open it up at the seam. There. Now basically what you have is fabric. And that's what it is. So now you fold it in half. And this is now the part that you're going to treat the shirt like fabric. It's no longer a shirt, it's just fabric. And you're going to take one of the pieces, the front or the back, and you're going to fit it. This is the fold line, so you're going to fit it the best you can on that fold line. So make sure you got enough fabric all around, and then you pin. Just treat it like a normal fabric with a normal pattern. And this is pretty standard stuff for sewers. So I'm just going to cut here, trim along here, cut here, and cut there. And that will be the front. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the other sleeve. But now depending on the size of the shirt, this is where sometimes it gets a little tricky. So sometimes the sleeves aren't as big. So what I sometimes do, I save the pockets also. So we're going to take this pocket, we're just going to cut up here and cut here. And I love putting the little pockets on the dresses too. Don't waste anything. So I'm going to cut under the arm, and I'm going to cut under the other arm. And now I'm going to flip it around. And see, you've got all this back that I can use. So I cut just along the edge up here. So this is why it's not all crucial if the shirt has stains under the arm, because you've cut that away. It's not all crucial if you've got a ratty collar, because you don't want that, you don't need it, or a ratty cuff. No problem. See, so now in the back, sometimes the shirts get a little small. And this is quite a long piece. So I have folded this up, and I've actually used this part. And it does work. And I will show you. It's like on this little dress here. See this little dress right here? This top part and that top part? That was this part of the shirt. That this shirt was just a little small, so I had to incorporate that. But that is basically how, so if you don't use that part, you just can save that for maybe another, and then you can cut this arm apart the same way, and just exactly the same way. Open it up. Lay it out. And see if there's enough. And there's lots. So then you just fold it in half. Put that on the fold. And if it doesn't fit that way, you can try to fit it that way. It's not crucial there. See, it'll fit perfect there. Alright? So once you've got the bottom of the shirt cut off for the bottom of the dress and the two bodice cut, you're good to start sewing. Now just remember, this bottom will go with another bodice from another shirt, and I will cut this shirt later and use this as the top. Alright, hopefully you understand that part. Okay. So now we're in the sewing room and we're ready to start sewing. So I have two bodices here that are in partial sewed mode. This is one that I had sewed, and see, I put where I put the pocket for the little girl. Okay. So this one here, the bodice, I have sewed the shoulders. Just the shoulders, just along both sides here. But this bodice, I've done the next step. After you do the shoulders, I serge and try to get a finished edge to the neck and the sleeves. And what I do, I use my serger and I just alter the stitch density. I'm not one to, you have to remember, I'm not spending a lot of time on these shirts. This is just quick, easy shirts, inexpensive, and off they get packaged and off to Africa they go. So I just do trim them up so they look good. I don't roll over the edges and spend a lot of time doing that. So this one is after I've done the neck and the arms, I'm ready. The next step will be just to match up the sides and serge both sides. That's will be, and then that bodice is completely done. But the other part that I need to do is I need to sew the closure of the buttons. Now remember, I had told you that I used the bottom of the shirt for the bottom of the dress, okay? And I lined up the edge. And what you need to do on this one, or what I do, is I permanently sew up both sides of the buttons. I keep the buttons on for being a little fancy, but I don't want it opened up. It just becomes not necessary for them to open. So we'll just quickly sew those up on a straight seam. It's not difficult. And I just try to sew right over top of the existing shirt's top stitch. Now I've done the one side, now I'm going to do the other side. So it's completely closed. Now I just use white thread throughout for the bodice trim and this, just because it's just, as I said, this isn't a garment that you're going to see on the runway. It's just to have it finished. And if you just use white thread for both, I don't think it, personally I don't think it's a bad looking, but if you wish to try to match thread, you go right ahead. You can match thread all you want, but I don't bother. See, so it's completely closed. So after you've done that part, now you need to do is the gathering. So the top bodice will match the bottom, and I do that on the serger. This one's ready to go, and what I do is I change. You can do it on your regular machine with a ruffle foot, or you can do it whatever manner you like. I just do it, I change my serger to number 7 stitch tension all the way across, and it works for me. See the gathering? Quick and easy as far as I'm concerned. So now the next step is to attach the bottom to the top. Now, this one will go on top of this one. I will put those two together. And this one will go with the bottom of this one. Now I have these This is at the next stitch. So I just finished doing this, and this is completely done. The sides are sewed. I've gone all the way around the neck and the shoulders, and now it's ready to be slipped into this and pinned together. Now I have done that with this one to show you. This is how it's done. So if you look on the inside, this is the finished side, this is the finished outside seam. So this is what this one will look like when it's finally sewed together. But it's not quite there yet. I have divided up this bottom into 4 quarters and evening out the ruffles so it works out nice and even, and it's also ready to go to the serger. Okay, so now I have to change back my serger tension, and it was all at 7 for the gathering the ruffle, and now I'm going to change it all back to 5. Now, you have to be a little careful with this one, because if you get a fold in, serger sometimes is not your best friend because it'll cut your fabric. So at this point you could certainly sew all around on a straight machine. Not a problem. You could straight it and then you could zigzag it to seal the edge. That you certainly could do it that way. But I do use the serger, and I do love it. I just need to find the front. I usually start at the front. And you have to be very careful with your pins on serging. So it goes a little slower, but it works. Alright, let's see what we got. There we go! I didn't make any mistakes. I love it. So, this is how you get a cute little dress out of 2 men's shirts. You mix and match 2 shorts to get the color combination you like. I know my husband said, wouldn't it be wonderful if Grandpa had shirts that you could make it for their great-granddaughters? It would be wonderful. Have fun.